If you're looking to get more kills and more wins in Warzone, then I have an awesome exercise just for you. Today I'm going to teach you what I call the pivot. This is my favorite transition drill to train your brain to switch directly to the next target, to rapidly change from offense to defense back into offense again. We're going to burn this habit into our adaptive gunplay mentality while also mastering our cover management. Today I want to break down a casuals gameplay as well as a ranked lobby to compare what tips you can take away from both modes. The goal of today's breakdown is to highlight habitual gunfight tactics so that you are making smarter decisions faster. So if you're here to get better at Warzone and you're serious about your improvement, then smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get my free coaching advice each and every week. So we're going to do this in casuals first because it's a great place for you to practice the confidence of fighting multiple enemies. We are going to be playing very aggressively, and the name of the game today is information. Aim and movement is a huge part of what we're doing, but our actual game sense is developed on the three fundamentals of our brain training, which is observation, anticipation, and reaction. We're going to look and listen at our information. We're going to predict what we need to do in each and every fight, and then we're going to react. For today's exercise, I'm landing in with randoms, and we are just going to push from the very beginning of the game. We're going to land on a crate, we're going to find an automatic weapon, and as soon as we do, we're going to be pushing towards getting that loadout. While you're looting, you need to be ready to be engaged by an enemy team. We're getting audio cues from a fly-in. See him on the left-hand side. As soon as we knock this enemy, we are moving up on that location and we are magnetizing ourselves towards the cover. We are trusting no footsteps, reloading our weapons and sliding right back out into the open, and we're taking them out. We're looking right back at the skies. We're juking away from that grenade. We're peeking all of the windows while we are plating and moving. We're in the reload animation. We're juking away and we're thirsting that kill. As soon as we thirst, we are getting the information from the minimap. One of the core functions of this exercise is to take responsibility for your gunfights. There is a lot of leaning on teammates in quad fights where players are presuming that there will be team shots. I am playing with randoms. They have absolutely no voice comms, and I am making an attempt at getting us a loadout. They are not assisting in this process. They are pushing bots, and we want our loadout. So we're going to get that as soon as possible, throwing it safe, and making sure that we are set up to push aggressively. I would also like money for a UAV, but I don't need it because this guy lands in. Teammates are starting to gravitate towards the box, but we're already ready to push. Using that hot swap mechanic, make sure you're activating your hot swap mechanic when you have the correct weapon out for the fight. You don't want to be engaging fly-ins with your SMG if you can help it. So switch back to your AR and then track them around cover as they fly in, because you will be surprised how many kills you can get if you have good follow through. Bounties are a superior informational contract because they're going to give you direct location of an enemy team. But our high ground is the best place to gather massive amounts of visual enemy confirmations. We just talked about this in our angle video last week. We need to be aware of where the threat is. When you're engaging enemies from high, you need to think about where can they kill you from. This game mode is really easy for you to get soaked up into just shooting fly-ins. And that is what I actually love about the game, is because there are still some real players that are trying to kill you. And if you are not paying attention, you're going to get shot in the back. I'm getting those pings, and then I'm taking shots. I'm immediately juking towards cover to give myself the safest re-engagement on this fight. Thirsting, looking at the radar, don't see anything, but we have a UAV from the teammate. Close on us again. Fresh fly-in, switching that weapon, immediately changing, rotating towards the sky and the audio cue, and having the correct weapon out in the fight. Throwing knives, I can't stress it enough. If you're not using thermite or throwing knives, you are absolutely selling in these aggressive game modes. You need to learn the animation timings on what you can do between your slides and your mantles, making sure that you're reloading first is your top priority and then replating after. We see the guy fly in, so we immediately take the opposite side of the wall to give ourselves the perfect heady. Small changes like that in a cover management scenario can help your aggressive gameplay so much smarter. Playing smarter while you're playing aggressive is very, very important. because all it takes is one wrong position for you to completely sell against multiple enemies. Weapon pings on the map and audio cues for those gunshots. You need to be ready to engage those immediately, but you don't know how many enemies are there, so you need to be ready. Knock one, aggressively push back up because they were fighting somebody, wrap around the outside to take those shots on that fly-in. Know your map, make sure you're clearing out those POIs before you move on to the next target. Once again, it's really easy to get caught up in the overhead activity in this game mode. They did a great job balancing how fast enemy bots come back, along with the actual players. We get the footstep audio, and we preempt that area on where they're going to push. Listening for that audio, get our high ground. See the second enemy, back off. Plate, re-engage, hit the corner slide, and then swing back. We're pulling inside, and we are mastering those gunfight resets. Mixing in that throwing knife. You want to get those clean kills and move on to the next fight as soon as possible. Build that muscle memory to use that equipment when you have it. We don't want to over loot, especially when we're in open area. And if you notice here, we're nowhere near our teammates, and that's a great way to play this exercise because you need to get familiar with being confident when you are alone. You don't want to rely on teammates for everything. Switching over to those targets and getting the shots on target is so important. This exercise is not about kills. We're not necessarily worried about the amount of kills we're getting. We want to be pushing the envelope of how fast we can find targets and get those successful kills. It's all about training what to do with every single fight. You're going back to the radar, you're looking at those dots, you're seeing the direction into that circle, and then you're thinking about your current position. On this ramp, we need to get off of it. It is a very bad angle. Take the low side cover. We have no fresh pings from the kill. We are out of plates, and we are getting fresh fly-ins back to the appropriate weapon for the fight. This is a great place to practice tracking and bullet velocity with a weapon that you're not sure with a new meta. We found plates, so we found our plates, but now we're doing a very critical tactic called circle clearing, which is where we hold enemies coming in on the narrow strip of the zone, but we're waiting until they come into the open to start our shots. If we start prematurely, they can stay behind the wall and then move further down the zone and get away. So shot timing is very, very important. So is gathering information when you don't have it and using that fire sale. Get yourself your free selfie, throw up that UAV, and then take your high ground back. Same thing, circle clearing off on the opposite direction using the high ground to acquire the target. Moving farther away, we're going to push up and close the distance. Use our low ground and take a little heady here. Practice that slight side shift to get the rotational aim assist. Fresh enemy pings from prison corner. Another great pro tip is while you're on the move and you're reloading your weapon, that is another great time to check your mini-map. You are not shooting right now. You don't need to have 100% focus on the center screen. You're scanning the horizon, looking for fly-ins and information on your map. Right now we're checking out the dot that's at the bottom of the factory and the fly-in that's coming in above. We're able to get the knock, rotate back towards the opposite circle sweep here because we have players moving from lighthouse into prison. Mounting for our distance shot in the bullet velocity, and we're successful with the mount. Immediately taking the hard right into that window as a reaction to that shot. Taking another right to get away once again and using our dedicated melee to gain as much speed as possible. We're freezing in zone, found a UAV to determine the next possible way to rotate with these enemies. We're zippering back and forth in between the circle gap. One close range weapon, slide out, juke, and hit the second target. Slide out to take the immediate kill, juke away to break their aim, juke back out again to get the second knock. Thirst both, maintaining the threat to our right that we're hearing off of factory and confirming that on the radar. We're wrapping around just in case enemy 3 or 4 from an actual team was pushing us. We're still quite a distance away from the rest of our team. And it's time to start thinking about the end game. Resurgence is disabled. End game, we need to be thinking about what do we want. We have a gas mask. We don't have great position right now. So we're getting out of the open, taking that high ground, and moving up towards the power play. Reloading, reassessing, checking that map, looking at who's shooting our teammate. Found them creeping up the steps. Good audio cue awareness. Looking back at the buy station because it's a power position, and they have elevation, and they also have a weapon ping because I'm shooting an unsuppressed weapon. I think that not enough people talk about that. If you choose a meta build that has no suppressor, every time you fire your gun, you are on the minimap and you are telling people where you're at. That's fine as long as you're ready to play aggressive and defend yourself. Now we're rotating around the outside. We're down to the last two teams. We're going to clear out the prison. Notice we're not jumping down into zone. We want to make sure that there's no one going to be coming down after we move down into zone. Trying to clear the roof if they're up there, but we're down to the last guy. See the shots? Not sure if they're on the roof with teammate. Again, he's not talking, or if they're right below. Then we're getting fresh pings down in zone. Now we're going to go into a ranked play lobby, and we're going to look at the effects of training this way and how it builds better habits. We got our first fly in, and we're taking the resurgence ping immediately. We're going downstairs where there are more loot boxes. Pre-aiming the hot zone. Corner slide out. Not able to hit our shots with all the visual shake on this ground loot. We decide it's not a good fight. Reloading the weapon. We hear the fly-in on the roof. We're zipping up to assist teammate. We're taking shots from behind and being pushed from grandma's. We're going to slide away from that gunfire and put a piece of cover between us and that directional fire indicator. Replate, reload, return fire, and reposition. Taking a risky play, jumping over the banister, and pushing down to fight these guys from the inside because it's not safe on the roof anymore. Picking up an extra plate, here fresh fly-in, and we are checking the railing to make sure that they didn't land on our level. Footstep audio close. Prioritize getting the SMG off that first kill because the chances are you're going to be pushed by enemy 2 and 3, and the long range isn't always going to cut it. We're going to go around the outside of the stairwell here, and then we're going to thirst our teammates drop from the flank and then immediately re-engage the top of the steps with our long-range weapon. This pivot is the extreme change-up that is holding a lot of players back because the average player is getting a 0.8 to a 1.0 KD because they're trading one kill for one death. So if you want to increase your KD drastically, you have to start to learn how to shoot more than one target. We've done some videos where we talked about juking and outplaying with movement, but you really need to think about what you're doing, your positioning, and your overall, that you don't have to have constant movement. Your position and your cover management makes a big difference in winning some of these gunfights. When your teammates buying the loadout, make sure you're providing adequate security on their previous pings or callouts. You get your loadout and you move up to that elevated position. Now we talked about getting information through our awareness skills and then anticipating what's going to happen and reacting to it. So we have information that there's a red dot over on trailers, and we're going to rotate aggressively towards that. In the meantime, we're seeing new fly-ins, which is a new priority. We're going to get new elevation to find new information. You have to be careful how you overexpose yourself because you don't want to push past the first team and into the arms of the second. So don't overcommit to a push until you've cleared the first threat. Once again, using your deep rotate, just like we did in Factory, you can severely outplay the enemy. Keep them guessing about the direction in which you're coming from or your overall positioning altogether. Remember to juke backwards from immediate gunfire. Here we make a critical mistake. We peppered an enemy, then we got distracted by another fly-in, and that gave the enemy the ability to return fire. Luckily, we were behind cover, and we had teammates. Now we're recirculating our push. By the way, our random tip with some of these outlier POIs, this is a hot drop area, but at this point in the game, you should be well away from these edges because you are free holds for teams like us that are going to push down on you. You need to get away from the outskirts of the map and get yourself vertical control. Be there to support a teammate Be ready to react for equipment you didn't know was there, and always be ready to magnetize yourself to that cover, be able to cancel that reload and swing on that secondary enemy. It's another great example of the pivot. It is very important that you are ready at all times to cancel your animations, change your positions, and re-engage that target. You can't rely on the teammate. They may be completely out of plates, out of ammunition, or completely unaware that the second player is pushing in. The fastest thing you can do is react to it. Now here we're moving up at 3 different forms of attack. We've got Snake in the boat, Shark on the ramp, and I zipped up to the top. I'm able to stop Shark from being completely zapped by the guy at the top of the steps. We're taking those pings and we're aggressively pushing over and communicating to Snake that there are 2 more in the boat. Once we're engaging enemies from a straight line, we're changing our position so that they don't know how to defend themselves. We're rolling up, we're getting that knock, we're hearing more gunfire, and we're reacting to the player on top. Getting fresh pings on the shack, but we're getting shots from over the shoulders, so we're trying to get away from that. We see a player inside, we juke away, he's AFK, and we're trying to stem away from a whole nother team. Managing the information, you're gonna die in Rebirth Island, whether you're in ranked, even sometimes in casuals. You need to be ready to what is your next position. If you're the teammate alive and you start losing teammates 1 and 2, you need to be taking precautions to get yourself out of the fight so that you can bring back your team. If you have resources, recouple them together so that you can buy a loadout, get yourself a UAV, buy plates, buy ammo, and do it in the order a little bit away from where you just died. If you decide to re-engage that team, you can at least have valuable time to reset your resources before you push back in. Looking at the zone, we ultimately decide that we want to take high ground at prison, and we're communicating that push together. I purchased a UAV because we're going into unforeseen territory. We don't know what's there. Popping the UAV before we push, seeing the up arrows, and then we zip to the top, and they are down arrows, which means they are still on the inside of prison. So we're going to use our verticality to our advantage, confirm, see the fly in, and remember that back at our loadout, communicate that. Looking at the radar as we get our final pings on the UAV, and thinking about how we're going to control the corner angle of this team as they leave prison. Clearing out the top of prison to make sure that there's nobody else above us, nobody else rotating in behind, and we catch a visual of them all coming up the scaffolding, communicating that, putting down return fire, and maintaining the pressure as they try to escape. We successfully knock one, reload our weapon, and fly down to prevent the self-revive. Communicate to the team that we are on the bottom and that we are going to sandwich from the inside if there's any remainder. And make sure you have the right weapon out when you clear the hallway, and be ready for another enemy or another team to be hiding in here. Looking at the radar, we see a fresh ping. We're still circle clearing. Very, very important. You have to be ready for a whole team to come around a corner at any given moment. Once you're sure that the inside of prison is clear, we're going to rotate down and continue to apply pressure to the last 2 teams. We have a buyback. We're spread out. Someone's engaging the buy station. We're clear, and we're looking for that buyback. Whenever you see a flare go up, get that information on where that their teammate is coming down. If you don't get the thirst, if you don't get the kill from the air, you can at least have visual confirmation of where they're going. We know we're down to the last team. We have money, we have a buy station, we have a UAV up. We have confirmation that they're there, and I'm already looking at the rotation that they're likely going to have to move right to get back in zone. I have a gas mask and I have a self. I'm going to get that precision airstrike, and we're going to move towards the far right to hold in our formation fight. We're going to fan out and hold their angle, applying pressure, trying to put up the precision, and it already has one in motion, and they are scrambling. The skill set of forcing yourself to play differently is something you are going to have to intentionally practice. I have put a lot of time into developing my own game sense and forcing myself to play more aggressively and watching the very decisions that I make. Try this out for yourself. Try casuals. I know that a lot of people frown on it. It is a training tool that is there for us, both for players of all different skill sets. and it's a great way to warm up every day. And then you can coast right into regular pub lobbies, regular ranked lobbies, and then train yourself for the unexpected. Real quick before I end the video, I wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for the outpouring of likes, comments, and traffic on the channel lately. It has been absolutely amazing. I definitely don't thank you guys enough. There's been so much cool stuff that's happened. The comments that I read from you guys are awesome. You guys have just been super cool. And I can't believe that we are already rounding the corner towards 3,000 subscribers. That's absolutely insane to me. I can't thank you guys enough. So, like I always say, keep building, keep adapting. Sitrep out.